welcome to Our Heritage. When you'd want to understand military history, what war is like, and how it works, you can't do better than a first-hand account. And today I'm going to be sitting down for a particularly fascinating account with Owen Sound veteran Bill Corbett. Bill, how are you today?
Very good.
All right, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Now, you had a very particularly dramatic experience in the service, but you started out in the town of Coburg.
Corbett, it's my hometown.
I've been there. Very lovely.
Right.
And how did you arrive at the decision to join up?
Well, it came down to, on my street that I lived, there was about 7 of my friends. We all went to school together, and they were starting a new enlistment for an artillery battery. And so the whole 7 of us joined. And it started it. Out of the 7 that signed up, 6 came back. 1 was killed in Sicily. So, but we'd all just finished high school.
So it was a group
Yep.
this thing.
Yep. I'd gone to school together, so we were all friends. And so we spent the next 4 years in the Army together.
Yeah. Was it? Were you nervous to join up, or excited, or how did it feel?
No, not nervous. It was just suddenly a change in your life. You've gone from being at home with mom and dad, and now you're on your own. And if you want anything, you get it. You wash it, or you make the bed, and it was quite a change.
It would be. And you originally were looking at signing up for the RCAF.
I was just up and got info mostly, and came back, and just after I got back, this battery was being formed, and I went with it because of my friends.
And so you joined. You ended up with the artillery. That's something.
Yeah.
Something that Coburg's rather known for, I'm told.
Yeah, this was the 3rd battery in Coburg that had been organized since the start of the war.
So it wasn't like you just joined the Army and you get assigned to the artillery. You actually signed up
No,
right off
no.
for artillery.
Yeah, that could happen. If you joined up as an individual, you could go to a holding unit, and you might wind up, God forbid, I shouldn't say that, in the infantry, and so, but
Yeah.
no, and if you're maybe an accident or something, you could go to a holding unit, and if they needed bodies or a man, they would claim you, and you could not go back to your own unit again.
But in your case, you just went straight into
Yeah.
artillery. Okay.
Yeah.
And so, of course, obviously, you kick off with what they call basic training to start
Basic
with.
training. Went to Peterborough, Ontario for
And
3 months basic training.
What's in basic training? What is it?
We started out basics with how to march, how to keep step, how to keep, and just a change in your life. Like you're now making beds. You're lining up for your meals. You're doing this, doing guard duty, doing this, and you can't go out the gate just whenever you feel like it.
Right.
And it's quite a change in your life, but yeah, I have no regrets on it. It was to me good training for later in my life.
So from basic training, you go on to something more specialized.
Then basic training, I was sent to Petawawa, and that's where he started with the artillery. And I was in Petawawa maybe about 3 or 4 months, and then we're assigned to Sussex, New Brunswick, and we're there for the next year. And we trained there, and then we'd go up north, up around the Gaspé, Tracadie, and we'd be up there for a week or so in tents, firing our equipment.
Okay. And so how long did that take altogether?
We might be up there 10 days, 2 weeks.
I mean, like the whole training process.
Oh, a year. We're there a year.
Okay. Right.
And then we boarded the Queen Elizabeth and
Oh, the very one.
went across to Scotland and down, And then we had about another year's training in England.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
But we got new equipment, what they call the self-propelled guns.
Uh-huh.
And we went on for another months of training.
Okay.
And it paid off because, you know, it's you got your life in your hands and you better know what to do.
Mm-hmm. So by the time, were you still in training when D-Day came about, or?
I was away in Carew, which is training unit in southern England. I was taking up wireless operator radio in the SB and other things. So, and we didn't know anything about D-Day. It was just a well-kept secret, and so, and then soon as within a few days after that, I was sent back to my unit.
Okay. And so, how did it feel to finally be going in to be being sent in for combat?
Probably scared.
Uh-huh. Fair enough.
We sailed out the Thames and down around, and we landed at Normandy, Caen area. And yes, your first round fired is, and the first one back makes you start thinking.
Yes, I dare say that it does. My goodness. But had you enjoyed England? Was it?
Oh yeah, England. Yes, we're down Eastbourne, England for a year. Mm-hmm. Spent all my leaves up in a great place, Edinburgh, Scotland.
Lovely town. I liked it. I liked it there too.
Scotch girls were nice at the Palais and the dance hall.
Very nice. All right. So you had but then when Normandy came around, it's like you didn't know anything about it until it had already it was already happening, sort of thing.
We were in what they call an armored division, which is mainly tanks and that, and until the beachhead got a little big to take us all. Mm-hmm. We went over. We landed about the 15th of July. Okay. And we went in and moved up to the front, relieved some of the people that had been there since they went in, and that's where we were till August 8th, I think it was. Mm-hmm. And that's when the big push. And how they could do it, you'll never know. There's going to be a massive push to a place called Trun and Falaise, and we didn't know much about it. Mm-hmm. We got word then finally, and at night, August the 8th, I guess it was, 11 o'clock, all hell broke loose. Now, where they had been all day in the area and around you, 1,000 artillery pieces opened up.
I want to hear more about it, but we're just going to take a quick break first. Yeah. Mark, you can probably we're back.
Hi.
So, Bill, you're in the artillery. So, could you explain a little bit about what you do in the artillery? How does it work? What's its function?
Well, I was in 2IC.
2IC being
Yeah, and I played in the gun crew, the firing. It became at night when, if you had two shifts, there'd be three in a shift and three in a shift, and that was the only way you could go 24-hour type of thing.
right.
And we'd get our stats from the OP officer, and he'd give us range, and we'd fire, and then there's an officer at the OP they send back and say add another 100 or drop 100, and till you got zoned in, and then bang.
So this is the weapon that you and your crew were using.
This one here traveled. This was ours. We started at Normandy with it. It went about 1,700 clicks halfway across Germany, and we fired about 12,000 rounds of.
All right, and you actually have an example of that sort here, I believe.
Yeah, this.
So show this is.
This is it, and inside would be, in this case, it would be cordite, and on the bottom there'd be a firing thing, and when the pin would hit that, this thing would fire powerful, and the shell would be expanded from that, and we could fire a shell about 8 or 9 mile.
So what's the artillery's role in the larger army?
Support. Support. We supported the tanks and infantry, and whenever they were in trouble, we could fire three or four kind, high explosive. We could fire smoke to protect them, give them cover to get out. We could fire air bursts that would be up in the air and explode in the air, and if you're in the trenches, you wouldn't have any safety.
Okay.
So, yes,
And when you're if you're in that supporting position, launching the shells, like how much awareness do you have of the bigger battle? Like can you, how much? What do you see?
You have quite a bit. The first thing it tells you is the first range you get. Now, if you get a range of about 900 yards, you know you're darn close. You feel better when it gets up to 6,000, 7,000.
Yeah. But can you see what's happening at all? Or?
No. No, most of the shells you'd fire, couldn't see them.
Be going out of your range of view.
Long out of the range. Yeah.
Okay.
It'd be like you sitting here 8 miles. We could pick off somebody in Chatsworth if you had to, you know.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay. And so could you hear the action at the front?
Oh yeah, it's a hollow sound of the shells going through the air, and inside the gun, the barrel, it's what they call a rifle. It's like this, because if you had smooth steel, there'd be no control over the shell, and when the shell left the muzzle, it would just go there.
Just go all over, like a big musket.
When you get it rotating,
And so, what was what was your first action? What was the first combat you were in?
In Caen, France, and it was the big push to Falaise. By actually, it was the Canadians, British, Americans, everybody was in on it, and it was all down right in here. In here.
And
here. I'm sorry. Here.
Okay. Yeah. And so, what was the objective?
So, now we're gonna. If we could take Falaise, and the Americans come up this way, now we created a gap here, and the Germans were all in here. Now they could only get out.
Right.
And it wasn't pretty.
No, I don't imagine. No. So what was your experience?
We're just firing shells to just support for the infantry and the tanks.
And and from that point, and what was it like afterward? I know Caen was quite brutal.
After this was broken wide open.
Yeah.
Then it was just a matter of they were running, we were chasing. and we went right through France, up through Belgium, Dieppe. We went past Dieppe and let the second Dieppe, who was the original ones that got slaughtered in there, you know. And we kept going till we're stopped, and we spent the first part of the winter in Holland, southern Holland. And we were there until spring.
So what was it like to see, you know, when you get into Caen or the other areas, once you caught up with where your shells were landing? What was it like?
A lot of damage. Oh, yeah. Geez, I had one I could have shown. Yes. Terrible. It's, you know, villages or towns would be just rubble. It'd be just rubble, and just like you see now in like Syria and the rubble in the house. It's just terrible, you know.
And so you ended up in Holland. How far? What was your progress?
Well, we stayed in Holland pretty well all winter because things had died down. We couldn't go to North Holland. The Germans were in there pretty heavy. That was the two things, Arnhem and Nijmegen. That's where they didn't take the bridge too far.
Yeah,
you remember?
yeah.
That was there.
Good movie.
So they waited, and they made a big push in April the 1st. And we crossed the Rhine at Emmerich and started out. We got about a third of the way across Germany, ran into another bad experience. Their young paratroopers landed during the night. And
German ones, you mean? Or?
German ones.
Okay.
And we opened up with open sights and the whole thing. We had 5 of our guys killed that night. And here, as it turned out, when you think about how you've gone from France, say Caen, right up to here, and you lose 5 guys, and the war is over in 3 weeks. Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
To think that they've gone all that way, and so we lost 5 that week and or that day, and then we just kept going about another 10 days, 2 weeks, and we got that one order everybody wanted: cease fire. And you went like that, and we made it.
Right.
Made it.
We're going to talk a little bit more about that, but that's fantastic. We're just going to take a quick break and be right back. Back. Bill, when you were in Holland, making your way through Holland and France, did you meet a lot of the civilians from the area as you went along?
In France, not too many. When we first started, the Germans were retreating and we were trying to catch them, and we just got through and you just waved and maybe got the odd hug from but no, we didn't have much to do until we got, I'd say probably into Brussels. Not, Belgium, I mean, and Holland. There's more connection in Holland because we stopped for the winter, do you see?
Yeah.
But France, we went through France. I'd have to look at the 2 or 3 weeks. We're through, and in Belgium was pretty well. They retreated right back up into Holland, so
right.
We drove some days, miles
Right.
trying to catch them.
So you didn't stop,
Yeah.
stay still long.
Yeah, a lot of ways. I've often said that in 1939, the Germans came in and took Holland, Belgium, France, and all that. And we had Dunkirk, we had to go back to England, remember? And with that, they used the same mass production. If we had 1 man, they had 10 men, as an example. Here we are 5 years later, we are actually doing exactly the same thing. We used to say, Germans fire 1 shell at us and that, we'd fire 50 back.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So when you get to Holland, the civilians come out to see you?
Civilians.
Yeah.
We, in a place called Gour, which is near the east side, we were boarded for a couple of weeks with people in houses. And my buddy and I would be invited for dinner, and this is not lying a bit, on a saucer. You could put their meat ration for a week on a saucer, and they'd invite us. And we just felt awful because we could go down to our own kitchen. Should have gone down and brought some stuff back for them.
They were real happy to see you, yeah?
Yeah, but never saw the enthusiasm. It's an awful thing. People don't realize they've lost their freedom for 5 years. Now, you don't think too much of it, but take that away from you. And how glad would you be to see somebody come in and saying, hey, you can do now whatever you want. You're free.
I can't imagine.
Most marvelous feeling. And they're still, I've been back 5 times to Holland. And they're still just love us over there for what we did for them. And
Now, I've always been interested, when you get into, obviously you got a very warm welcome in Holland. In Germany, how did the civilians react to you?
Germany, the order was issued, there is no fraternization whatsoever. You did not speak to them, you did not anything. And if you were caught fraternizing, you could be given a term for the occupational force that would be staying after the war to keep the thing. So you didn't. There wasn't much talking at all.
Okay. You didn't have a sense of how they
no,
felt at all?
No, you never got much conversation because I guess, I don't know what's thing to say, you got the thought of saying, hey, because of you, we're here. Like we said, they started it. And so, but anyway, it worked out all right. We were only in Holland about, Germany, May, I'd say about 2.5 months, and we're sent back to Holland.
Okay.
He got us out of Germany, and he just kept people who, like police.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I guess the big question at the end of it all is how do you feel about that experience looking back on it now? What is it?
Now that I'm back, yes. Yes, it was something that I'll never forget. Had a great time. The friendships that I made is probably the most important. I mean, if some of those guys that walked in here now, I wouldn't feel at odds with them. We'd be friends, and it's just something that you get so close to. You're my buddy. You cover my back, and no, you'd never. And I think it played a good part in my life.
Mm-hmm. And but the thinking about the sheer destruction of it, how does that? How do you look back on that?
The destruction?
Yeah, just how the violence side of it.
When you saw London, hammered, and just the destruction was just. I was in German, Dortmund. It was one of the German cities, about the size of Toronto. There wasn't a building left standing in it from bombing raids. Can you picture something like that drive through? There isn't a building standing. And people, I don't know how they made it. It's, I don't know what the end result is to see damage like that in people, just like it's going on today. Mm. And
have you been back at all?
I've been back to Holland 5 times.
Mm-hmm. And they're still thrilled to see you, sounds like.
You're still number one.
Mm-hmm. And there's a big turnout, I understand, for one of the anniversaries.
Yes, the first time we were back, second, it was I think the 50th. Yeah, 50th. And we paraded, if I said to you, we probably paraded from Harry Lumley's rink to Harrison Park. In that parade going through, there'd be at least 200,000 to 250,000 Dutch people standing, just wanting to touch you, and older people who were in the war come out and give you a hug and thank you, and it was quite a feeling.
Now, people my age, I mean, I've been to Juno Beach myself, but I don't suppose many people my generation have done. Would you advise people my age to go over to visit those places?
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
I would say definitely, but have something that you have on. I don't care whether you have a pin or Canada. It says Canada. Always have that on. I don't care whether you got a little shoulder patch or a hat on with Canada, or make sure it's Canada. Because a lot of times we could have been taken for some other place. I won't, but we're Canadians. It used to get taken for for Americans, And 4 of us went to Staten Island on a leave, and the Americans at that time, this would be 1942, wouldn't believe we're Canadians. Said Canadians are either Indians or Eskimos or stuff like this. He said, "You're Americans in Canadian uniforms." But but that's some of the thinking way back then. Yeah. But make sure you have that Canada on you.
All right.
And
I will remember that the next time I'm over there.
Just Canada. I don't care where you have it.
Yeah. Note that, anyone who's watching who hasn't made the trip yet. Yeah. Bill, it's been extraordinary. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
It's a life-changing experience, the likes of which most generations since can.
It's something that I'll never forget myself, and good memories and bad memories.
Profound, very profound.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Thank you very much.